Narcissistic rage is a sudden, explosive eruption of anger that occurs when a narcissist experiences something called a narcissistic injury. Of course, the presence of a personality disorder, like narcissistic personality disorder, doesn't predict violence in a relationship, but it certainly adds to the risk factors. My narcissistic mother used to erupt in a rage frequently. It seemed like every little thing would trigger her anger, and all I wanted to do when that happened was run away and hide. That's not such a bad strategy after all. She was never physically violent, but she often walked right up to the line. It's hard to know what to do, but there are several strategies you can use to diffuse their anger. It's important to know some of the most effective responses to avoid escalating the situation. Let's take a look at 7 strategies you can employ to diffuse the situation. Number 1, stay calm. The most important thing you can do is to remain calm following a narcissistic rage. There are many things that can trigger a narcissist rage, including the following. You didn't give them what they want. They feel as if you are criticizing them. You or someone else took the spotlight off of them. They got caught doing something they shouldn't be doing. You are holding them accountable for something they did. They feel like they have no control. You may not even realize what you've done, and it may be something that someone else did. But no matter the trigger, if you lose your cool, it will only intensify their rage. That's why it's imperative that you stay calm. Many times they are trying to get a rise out of you as part of their desire to manipulate and control you. So don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. If you stay calm and cool when responding to them, it takes the fire out of their behavior. They realize that their rage doesn't do what they want it to do, and they will give up that strategy. Staying calm also helps to make you less interesting as a target. Narcissists love to create drama, and if you respond in a boring fashion, they lose interest. It's a technique known as the gray rock technique. Number 2, get some distance. Another important strategy to employ when a narcissist erupts in a violent rage is to simply leave. This is, of course, important if you feel they might become physically violent, but it's also a good strategy to make them realize you won't put up with that. You can go to another room in the house, go to another office in the building, or go someplace else altogether. There's no need to say you're leaving, argue any further, or try to fix anything. Just leave. By distancing yourself, you take away the object of their rage. You also deny them the satisfaction of hearing what they have to say. This is not to say you're not interested in what they have to say, but it's about the way they're choosing to say it. The simple truth is that a narcissist will do what has worked for them in the past, and if raging at their victim produces the results they're looking for, they'll keep doing it. If you deny them that result, however, they will pick another target of their rage, or move on to another strategy. The intent of their rage is to manipulate and control you, and you never want to allow them to do that. It's a very effective strategy because the narcissist fears losing their narcissistic supply, so they will stop and think about their actions. Number 3, establish or reinforce your boundaries. After a rageful eruption, it's a good time to establish or reinforce your boundaries. You should never have to be the victim of such treatment, and therefore it's important to set strong boundaries around this type of behavior. Setting boundaries is really about respecting yourself, so you should determine what you will and will not accept. Once you've done that, it's important to communicate those boundaries clearly. A narcissist often distorts what they hear, so it's also helpful to present them with a written list of boundaries and the consequences for any violations. Presenting them with a copy of your list removes any possibility they can claim they didn't understand or were never told the consequences of their actions. It's important to remember, however, that this is not about modifying their behavior as much as it is about respecting yourself. Notice the statements after each consequence. You deserve to be treated in a respectful, rational, and non-abusive manner. Anyone failing to do so is not someone who has your best interest at heart, at least not at that moment. When you enforce a boundary, you let your own inner child know that you respect them and will protect them. That's an empowering and healing message to send to yourself. Number 4, take a break from the action. Taking a break from the action is always a good strategy when someone is in a rage. It's different from simply leaving the discussion because you don't walk away, but you let the narcissist know you need time to think. A good strategy is to say something like, "I need some time to think about what you've said. You're important to me, so I want to make sure I understand and respond appropriately." This can calm the situation down, and it gives you time to formulate your response. By the time you're ready to talk about what happened, the narcissist will have calmed down significantly. They'll be better able to hear what you're saying. When they're in the midst of a rage, they really can't take anything in. By telling them you need a break from the argument because you value them and want to think about what they're saying, it validates their emotions without devaluing yours. It also models a more appropriate way to deal with anger and hurt feelings. Over time, you might see them change the way they approach you when they're angry. Number 5, it's important to remember it's not about you. Everything a narcissist says or does is about the narcissist and nobody else. It's vital to realize that that is the motivation behind everything they do. When they rage at you, it's an attempt to manipulate or control you for their own gain. It's an effective distraction technique to keep you from delving further into something they might have done. It's also a way to get you to be more submissive. Victims often start walking on eggshells to keep the peace. They don't want to face another violent eruption of rage, but the truth is that won't help. There is nothing you can do to stop an eventual, rageful outburst from occurring again and again. That's because it's not about you. It's not about something you did or said. It's all about how the narcissist interpreted what you did or said. Changing your behavior will never solve the problem. The only way to stop rageful outbursts is to set strong boundaries and enforce them every time. Number 6, follow through on consequences for boundary violations. Once you've set boundaries with a narcissist, you must follow through on the consequences you named for violations every single time. If you let it slide even just once, the narcissist will violate that boundary again and again. Moreover, they will see you as weak. That will make them even more likely to use techniques like rageful outbursts to try and manipulate your behavior. We discussed setting boundaries earlier and providing the narcissist with a written version of your boundaries and the consequences for violating them. To be truly effective, you have to follow through on those consequences, even if the violation seems minor. Remember that boundaries aren't about forcing the narcissist to respect you. They're about you respecting yourself. Once you know the narcissist is aware of the consequences for inappropriate behavior, don't hesitate to implement those consequences every time. And number 7, call for assistance. Not all narcissists are physically abusive, but they can be. And if they are, it's more likely they will become physically violent during a rageful outburst. That's why it's important that if you fear for your physical safety, you don't hesitate to call for help. You should never have to live in fear of being physically abused. If you are dependent on a narcissist who is physically abusive, you need to get yourself out of that situation. There are options available to you, like shelters, where you can recover from your abuse in safety. Don't hesitate to call the police if you are harmed or if you're afraid you will be. Reaching out for help is the first step on the road to recovering from abuse. Finally, narcissistic rage can be a frightening response to a minor event, and it's designed to be exactly that. Narcissists use their rage to make their victims more submissive and open to manipulation and control. They want to make you feel afraid to go against them. It definitely creates emotional wounds that can then become triggers. Emotional triggers are also something the narcissist will use to control you, but you can prevent that from happening. I have created a 5-step roadmap to heal emotional triggers that can help. This free guide is designed to help you recognize, diffuse, and even heal emotional triggers so that toxic people can't use them against you. If you would like a free copy, just click on the link below the video and I'll send it directly to your inbox. You can stop the abuse today and start healing. Thanks for watching.